Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to News Dose, and according to a new report, Xbox's new unorthodox strategy has kind of left them in a bit of a strange spot. Developers and publishers are now allegedly questioning their approach, though despite that, there are some rather important questions that's been raised about this specific report and how it's being pushed out online. So we're going to get into all of that, and I will explain why today. First, though, I do want to thank my supporters on Patreon and on YouTube memberships. Thank you just so much for what you do, and you will receive this video through early access. Let's go and get right into things, though, starting off with Doom: The Dark Ages. Its launch is set for next week on May 15th, which, there's high expectations for this game. The Doom series is just so beloved, really is just one of the best within its genre, and I'm happy to say that, at least according to critics, it has indeed met its lofty expectations. It currently has an 86 overall score on Metacritic with a total of 51 reviews. Now, as always, just to kind of put things into perspective, that falls right in between Doom 2016, which has an 85 overall score, and then Doom Eternal, which has an 88. So it sounds like it's going to be another fun, brutal experience. If you like the Doom series, it sounds like it pretty much has everything that you'd want. But I have also heard that it's, unique enough to feel different than the previous two entries. So don't necessarily go in expecting a complete rehash of those games. It's going to be similar, but still different enough to give you a fresh new Doom experience. I'm also hearing that, as expected, it's absolutely glorious visually. id Software truly is just one of the best studios out there when it comes to that smooth, great-looking gameplay. So, yeah, only 1 week left to go, and we'll be able to play Doom: The Dark Ages ourselves. Oh, and the Gex Trilogy got its release date for June 16th, and also some new details for its physical release as well. Of course, it's being handled by Limited Run Games, and they just revealed its various options, which includes a $40 standard edition. There's also a $75 classic version, which I actually really like this one. It's got that PlayStation 1 box art to it, which is just kind of a nice nod to the original Gex games. Now, is that going to be worth $75? Well, that's going to be up to you. It could be a cool collector's piece to display, and who knows, it could end up rising in price over time. We'll have to kind of wait and see. And then for you true Gex lovers out there, there's even a $200 option, which includes a 7-inch statue and a 36-inch inflatable Gex doll. Yeah, okay, if that's your thing, then $200 it is. I think I'll go ahead and stick with the standard edition myself, because I'm actually really happy that the Gex series is seeing a return. So I'm definitely going to pick this one up, and if you're interested in it as well, keep in mind that you only have until July 6th to secure your order. Now, one of the most exciting PlayStation 5 games set for 2025 is Death Stranding 2. Well, early hands-on previews from places like IGN, Eurogamer, and VGC have been making the rounds online ahead of its June 26th release. So a ton, and I mean an absolute ton of information dropped online, and that's because this wasn't just simply a small hands-on preview like we usually see. No, apparently, the press was actually able to play 30 hours of the game, which Hideo Kojima claims is only 40% of the entire game. So, in other words, that means that Death Stranding 2 will essentially be 60+ hours long. Now, the first game is right around 40 hours, so that's actually a big increase, especially the way the sequel is being described. If you were hoping to see a little bit more action, that was one of the big complaints with the first game, and if you just want it to be a faster paced game, it sounds like you're going to get that with the sequel. Now, I mean, its main focus is still going to be on its traversal. You're going to be delivering things and things like that, so it's not going to be a completely different game, but it's being described as a tighter, more thrilling experience with some really creative boss fights, as we've come to expect from Hideo Kojima. For that matter, the graphics is actually stunning. Apparently, the previews are on the base PlayStation 5, which is kind of surprising because, they showcase some just absolutely jaw-dropping scenery, which can easily be described as some of the best visuals that we've ever seen in any video game ever made. If you want to see any of those previews, though, I will drop a link below. Just kind of understand that there might be some mild spoilers involved. All right, so let's go and talk about Xbox and how publishers and developers allegedly feel about Xbox's new multi-platform, albeit not completely multi-platform strategy, all while still having their own consoles. I mean, this is something that we've never really seen before from a console manufacturer, and there's definitely going to be varying opinions about that. Well, according to this article written up by WCCF Tech, while referencing Christopher Dring, they said, while the Xbox multi-platform strategy could be paying off in some ways, as Microsoft's published games on PlayStation 5 are doing quite well, certain publishers and developers are reportedly baffled. From their point of view, they want the competition in the console space, and if Microsoft is releasing their games at launch on other systems, seemingly leaving their hardware behind, then they don't see the need to create Xbox versions of games. As such, Christopher Dring highlighted Microsoft will have to strike a balance in the future. Now, first things first here. We really don't have any information as to exactly who he's referring to, and that's actually a very important detail that could completely change the story for better or for worse. So, what I mean by that is that, are we talking about a key member within the game industry? Like, hypothetically, are we talking about, let's say, the president of Square Enix or Capcom? If that's the case, then that would be a major story. Or instead, are we just talking about a regular employee that doesn't really make any kind of big-time decisions within one of these companies? So that's why I say that's vital information that we currently don't have. So I do think that's at the very least worth keeping in mind here. But even still, just to kind of entertain this article, because it really blew up online. And I think even for a lot of fans, there are drastically differing opinions about Xbox's new multi-platform strategy. Some people love it, and they think it's a great idea because it'll make Microsoft a lot of money, whereas other people are concerned about their console business. I mean, if you look at Xbox hardware, it is on the decline. There's really no way around that. And we can easily make an argument that that goes hand in hand with the decision to have less first-party exclusives. At the same time, though, despite this new plan and Xbox's struggle in hardware this generation, they still have repeatedly insisted that they do have plans for more future consoles. One is a handheld, and then the other they're describing as the largest technical leap in a hardware generation. So, by all indication, they're not planning to leave the hardware business anytime soon. But I do say hardware deliberately, because the more that we've learned, the more convinced I've become that their next console will not be just a typical console the way that we currently know them. Rather, I believe that it'll be a PC hybrid console that runs on an Xbox OS over top of Windows. Now, will a platform like that actually sell, and will developers be attracted enough to support this quote-unquote Xbox PC OS? I mean, the way I kind of look at it is that I don't think there's too much to be concerned about this generation. Developers already have their games in development for the Xbox Series. And even though the Xbox Series might not be as popular as the PlayStation 5, it still has a big enough user base that developers aren't going to simply ignore it. So I think the current question really should be more about their next generation hardware and whether or not Xbox is sacrificing their long-term success for short-term gains. On one side, yes, they are making a lot of money on PlayStation and Nintendo, but is that enough to counteract the potential migration next generation that we could possibly see from Xbox customers because of these decisions? There are some Xbox fans out there that, does feel alienated. And I think that's where there's a little bit more of a mystery worth exploring. The short-term versus long-term. Now, maybe the Xbox hybrid PC will be enough to keep those customers invested. Obviously, Xbox Game Pass is an incredible deal. And if they have a console that can not only play Xbox games, but also Steam games, there's emulation on PC and things like that, that technically sounds enticing on paper. So maybe that's enough. But of course, a lot of that's also dependent on their implementation. So let me know what you all think about this. How do you view this article? Do you think that it has any merit? Are you concerned about Xbox's long-term future? Or instead, do you think that this article is just simply nonsense and that Xbox has a solid enough strategy going forward? Now, one last thing before we go. Nintendo gave us an update for the Switch 2 and their expectations for its first year. They're currently predicting that it'll sell 15 million units for its first fiscal year, which is technically its first 10 months on the market, which is actually a little bit lower than some of the previous reports indicated. Going all the way back to last year, there were rumors that they could be stockpiling units for a 20+ million a year, and even a few months back, we had heard up to 17 million. Now, that would be preferable from a customer standpoint because the hope for us is that, they can flood the market to keep scalpers at bay and to have it readily available. Now, maybe 15 million can still achieve that, but I am a little bit skeptical, and here's the reason why. For reference, the PlayStation 5 sold 7.8 million units for its first fiscal year, which was only about 5 months at the time. Its full first year, however, was 17.8 million units, and it sounds like the Switch 2 will be on track for a similar first year. Now, as we can painfully remember, the PlayStation 5 was still hard to find even after its first full year, so that could potentially mean that the Switch 2 will see a similar pattern. That's very unfortunate if true, but on a more positive side of things, this would still be a huge launch for Nintendo. I mean, the Switch 1 sold around 13 million for its first fiscal year, and that was also with more time considering it launched earlier in their fiscal year. So 15 million is still impressive, all things considered. Anyways, though, that's going to be it for this episode, but until next time, make sure to subscribe, ring that bell, and peace out.